So hello and welcome to Groundhog Graphics. In this video I'm going to install Cygwin, and I'm going to show you guys how to navigate your way through it a little bit. And well, let's go ahead and let's get started. So first things first, I will go to Firefox. You go to whatever internet browsing program you're using. I go to Google and we'll look up Cygwin. And I will go ahead and click on this here, and here's its home page. Then we'll scroll down to installing Cygwin. It's a setup program right here for both for 32 and 64-bit. And now it's downloaded. I'll go ahead and execute the setup program. And we'll see here. And we'll click next. Install from internet, yes. And you guys right here might have a different drive pop up, probably your C drive. I've already installed this before, and I removed it just so I could make this video, but it still has my setting for my D drive, which is my slave drive, and that's because my C drive is a little bit too full, so I'm using my secondary drive to install it. But you can install it optionally anywhere you like. There's a browse button here to choose, and I'm going to install it for all users, and click next. And now it wants to store all the packages that you install on top of Cygwin, which could be editors and compilers or anything. It wants to install that in my C drive. I don't want that, so I'm going to go to my D drive, and I'm going to go Cygwin packages, which I've already created this folder. So I'll click OK for that. Next. And yep, use the standard system proxy settings, I guess. It works fine for me. Now choose a mirror. And this will give me a great big list of all the applications that I can install alongside Cygwin. So you can do this optionally. You can do this now. You could choose programs, which I will, or you can do this later. And you do it later by rerunning this installation program. So I'm going to go ahead and search for an editor called Nano. It comes up under editors here. I'm going to install that, and we'll go with the latest version. And that's all I'm going to install right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. These are all of the base files that Cygwin requires, plus of course Nano somewhere in here as well, right there. So let's go ahead and we will click next. Okay, so now it's finished installing, and I cut the previous part out because that would take too long to watch. So yes, I want to create an icon on my desktop. Optionally, you can add an icon to your start menu, which I'm not going to do. So I'm going to click finish. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Here's Cygwin already installed on my desktop, and there it is. Now I have a Linux terminal in Windows. So now what I want to do is close this for a second, and I want to show you something here. What I would recommend is right-clicking Cygwin 64, going to Properties, going to Compatibility, and going down here and selecting Run this program as an administrator. That way you have access to the entire file system on your computer. If you don't do this, then you're not going to have access to all of the files on your computer. So let's go ahead and click OK. So now this runs as administrator. Start it up again. Okay, so at this point I'm going to assume that you have little to no knowledge of Linux. I have little myself, but I'm going to show you what little bit that I do know. And first off, I'm going to do Alt-Enter, which will make this full screen. I'm going to hold left control and scroll my mouse wheel forward so we can see this better. So in order to get a directory listing, normally we would type, like in DOS, we would type dir, uh, which I guess does work on here, but we also can use L command, or no, I'm sorry, ls command. So, um, but we can't see anything, right? So in order to see everything that's in this root folder, you see that little tilde symbol, that means we're in our root. So we do ls-a. Now we can see we have some hidden files, and I think hidden files start with a period in Linux. So bash profile and bash rc. Bash rc, I'm guessing that means resource file, and that has a lot of stuff in it that we want to take a look at. So a lot of people use an editor called Vim or VI. I don't think it's very user friendly. That's why I went ahead and installed Nano. So I'm gonna go with Nano, and I'm gonna go .bash rc, and now we're gonna take a look at this file. And what we can do is we can change settings in here so that they were permanent and persistent every time we reload our every time we reload Cygwin. So their pound signs are like rems or for comments. So you can uncomment a line by just removing the pound sign. But the neat thing is that in this file there are a lot of things that are commented out that you can add features to your environment here just by uncommenting them. So there's shell options. Let's see here. So here it begins. I think don't wait for job termination. So if I uncomment this, then that's a setting that will be persistent every time I load Cygwin. And if I scroll down here, there's a lot of these. And what I suggest you do is go through and read each and every one of these and uncomment what it is you would like to have. There's some aliases in here. Right here, aliases. And you see the aliases for RM and CP for copy, RM's remove. I think this does is it makes it where it's interactive and it questions you if you want to remove a program, like you remove whatever program, and it goes, are you really sure you want to remove that? And you go, yeah or no. So CP is copy, and move is, if you're coming from Windows, is the same as rename. So, but they call it move. And then we have other ones down here for diff or df and du, and here's some more aliases. These are handy right here because, like I had to do earlier, remember I did ls-a. Well, this alias right here makes it where all I have to type is LA, and it would do the same thing. So aliases are really, really handy. But I already have my saved file that already has all of this uncommented, so I have my settings the way I want them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to exit out, and I'm going to copy my original bash rc folder or file back into this, so that way it's already done for me. As I said, you can go through this and uncomment what you want and set it up how you like. Now before I exit, this Nano editor is pretty basic. It's pretty simple, but it does have syntax highlighting if you were to program in language like C or something. But notice down here, what could be confusing is this caret symbol and the X for exit. Well, what does that mean, Well, that caret symbol actually means your left control key. Or it could even be the right control key too, but it's a control key. So you would actually hit Control X or Control G to get help. All these would be control. Now there's some of these options that come up here that have an M, and the M is your Alt key. So instead of the caret, it would have M key. Just so you know, if you're going to use Nano, what this little abbreviation is. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to exit. So Control X. Modified. No, I don't want to save it. So now what I'm going to do is, I guess I'm going to show you how do you access your C drive and your D drive. Well, okay, that's a good question because I didn't know when I first started this up either. So how we do it is we can do a CD, which is change directory, same as in DOS. CD, and we can go to CYG, and instead of Cygwin, CYG drive. And now we're in CYG drive. Let's list this and see what it's all about. You see it has C and D in there. Those are your C and D drives. Now, let's say I want to make this real easy for myself because I'm coming from Windows or DOS really because I'm a little older. So um, I actually would like it if I could just put like C colon and go to my C drive. That would be nice. So what I'm going to do, just temporarily right now, is I'm going to go alias, and I'm going to go C colon equals, and we'll put apostrophes, and I'll put a CD / CYG drive / C, and see if that works. So now if I put C colon, there we go. Now it takes me right there. So let's go alias D colon equals, and I will put CD / CYG drive for my D drive. So now let's go to D, and there it is, pwd CYG drive D. So that makes it a lot easier for me to navigate in here. Now these aliases right here are something I actually haven't added to my resource file yet, but I'm going to because that's super convenient. I have to admit, I really like this alias command that they have in Linux. I mean, back in DOS days, when I wanted to create an alias, I had to create a batch file to do the same thing. So I think this is a pretty nifty little feature. So I'm pretty happy. I think Linux has probably a lot to offer. It's just quite the learning curve. And that's why I think the Cygwin is a good way to get started in it. Because you're not trapped in a Linux environment. Like if you load up and just make your computer a Linux machine and you come from Windows and you don't know Linux, you're gonna get into trouble. Because you're going to want to do something, you're not going to know how to do it, and you're going to look online and look and look and look, and you're not going to be able to find the answer, and you're going to get frustrated like I did before many times, and I say, forget it, I'm done with Linux, I'm going back to Windows. But today's day and age, if you want to work on a command line, you're going to have to learn Linux, because I've looked for alternatives, and there just isn't much out there. Everything seems to be going with Linux. Even PowerShell with Windows looks like they're copying Linux. And there's a Linux subsystem for Windows that you can use too, which might be equally as good as Cygwin or better. I don't know. I haven't really used it, but I just went this route with it. So now I'm done with that rant, and I'm going to copy my file that I had initially, my bash rc file. I'm going to copy it back where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go, so I need to go C drive, and then I'm going to do cp, which is copy, and I'm going to put, dot bash rc, and I'm going to copy it to the tilde, which is the root of here. So let's try that and see how that works. I think it did it. Okay, so now I have another file. I'm going to copy that, cp.bash rc, and this is where I have a beginning of some of my more custom aliases. I think I misspelled aliases. Is that right? I think so. And alright, I had to pause the video and look up something real quick. So now I'm going to go cp.bash aliases, and I'm going to copy them to my root. Done. Okay, so now I have a lot of my own settings already selected. If I do nano bash dot bash, I have to go to root. Oops. Let's see, cd, and I go nano .bash rc. Now if I scroll down here, a lot of this is already uncommented. See all this? I have this all this stuff was commented, but I have it uncommented in my own custom file. Things that I wanted, especially like all these ls and dir and vdir and ll and all this stuff. But there's just quite a lot of cool things. This cd function, for example, this is really neat. You can basically, when you use cd to change directory, you can have it use this function, and this function, what it says is it stores up to 10 entries. So it keeps a history of the directories you've been to. So if you want to jump back and forth between directories, you can do it pretty simple. You can do it real easy with this, and I'll show you in a second. Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and just exit out of this. Control X and Alt F4. I'm going to close this out, and now reopen it, and it should have all of my aliases or shortcuts all done. So Alt Enter, and I'll make this bigger. So now let's see here. Let's go CD /CYG drive /C. Okay, so there we go. And now let's go CD /CYG drive /D. Okay, now you also notice I'm not using my C and D alias. That's because when I set it last time, I set it just in here on the command line. It didn't save. There's no persistence, so it has to be saved in a file. So we'll do that in a moment. But so now let's take a look at CD with this new function, because it works this like change directory, right? But it's actually running that function. So if I put 2 dashes, and it shows me all the last 3 directories I've been to. So if I want to go back to C drive, I could do CD 1 dash, and I could go put number 1, and it puts me right back. So I think that's kind of a neat feature. So that's why I like that little function they included. So now let's go ahead and create that alias I made again for the C colon and D colon. Alias C colon equals apostrophe CD /CYG drive /C. Okay, now let's go CD, and let's switch to CD-1. So we'll go to D drive. So now I'm going to try C colon. There it is, it worked. So also another neat thing you can do here is if you just type alias without anything else, it lists all the aliases that are active. So there's all the aliases that are already active right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. And when you copy in here, you're not going to do Control C. You're going to do Control Insert. And with Control Insert, then I can do Shift Insert, and you can see it prints it right there. But since I know this alias is working because we just used it, now I'm going to go to nano. Oh no, I'm going to go to CD. I'm going to go to my root where my bash file, bash aliases file is. So now I'm going to go and do nano.bash aliases, and I'm going to add this alias so it's persistent and it's always there when I need it. So now I do Shift Insert. There it is. And now I'm going to make another one, Shift Insert, and I'm going to make this one for the D drive. So that would be real convenient for me, especially coming from Windows. So now what I can do is I can hit Control S and it will save it. It says wrote 6 lines. Nano's a neat little program. It's a nice little editor for quick editing. Then Control X. So now if I do Alt F4, restart it, and I go, let's say LA. Okay, so we were in our root. Let's go to C. Well, let's go to D. There we go. And I even have one, I think, here for my project folder. Yep. So PRJ goes to my projects where I do a lot of programming. So now in Linux, they have some help file which they call man. So actually, you can type help and it lists a bunch of commands. It's not everything that's in there, but it lists quite a bit. But it doesn't really explain, exactly what they do. But I guess if you just don't know all the options for something, you can type help. That can be handy. But it also has man for short for manual. And if you go man, and it goes, what manual do you want? Well, I can do man manual, and it will pop up and it will explain to me how to use the man command. Now, I've found that, yeah, it is thorough and it has a lot of information, but a lot of times if I look these up online, I can get a shorter description and a better just summary of the more common use situations of these commands. Sometimes these can be just a little overkill, but it is here, it is available. So you can go through and read these. And if I want to exit out of this, I think it's X, oh no, Q. Q. Now if I want to, I could try to look up CP for copy, man CP. And then copy files and directories shows up. And it gives me all the different options I can do here. And so this is how you can kind of get through and look up things that you want to look up in here and see how to use them. Google's still going to be your friend though. So Q for quit. And so let's go ahead and just try some other commands. Let's go back to the root and let's try dir. Nothing, right? But now if I do LA, because it's short for ls-a, it'll show me all these files with these dots in front of them, so they're all hidden. So I can see all this. Now I don't know what all these files do. There's bash profile. I haven't messed with that yet. It probably has some significance in here, and there's all kinds of stuff. So I've just done the bash RC, and then I made my own bash aliases. So there's LA, there's dir. Let's make a directory. Let's go to C, and let's go make dir, and we'll call it test. Now we'll go L, and there's test right there. Now let's say I want to get rid of that directory. I think I can go remove test. Oh, it's a directory, so rmdir maybe, test. There we go. Now if I go L, test is no longer there. So that's how we can make a directory and remove a directory. And let's make a file real quick. Nano tests.txt. And go, this is a test file. Now let's go Control S, save it, Control X, exit, L. And there's test.txt. Now if I want to delete that, I could do rm, remove test.txt. Remove regular file, yes. Now normally it wouldn't ask this, but I have it selected for interactive now. So there, so now it will ask me if I really want to do it. And then I can go L, and test is now gone. Now for directory listings, I can type L, I can type LL. Oh, that's because I've got this zoomed in. Let me bring it down a little bit. Maybe it'll make it look better. LL. Oh, jeez, that's terrible. Let's try LL again. There we go. LL again. Had to make it a little bit smaller. So that's what LL does. LA will list everything, including hidden files. And I have bash aliases and bash RC in here. That's because I backed it up in here before I deleted it and did this video. So there's LA, LL, there's dir. So there's all kinds of just different commands we can do. Alright, Now, after we've installed it, there's something else we should do too, which is set an environment variable in our path statement, so that CY for Cygwin, so that it is accessible from any command line anywhere in the computer. So we can do that by going to Windows key X, and we can go to System, Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables, and we can go to our path right here. We can edit it. We can go to New, and we can type in d:/Cygwin64 \bin. Now you can see I already did that. I already have it above right here, but that's how you would do it. I'll delete that, and you can just hit OK, 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 close this, and now it'll be in your path statement for your system variables, so you can load it up from anywhere you want. So if we went to, so I'm not exactly sure how you would load it from there, but I'm going to go ahead and right click this shortcut and take a look and see what it loads. Properties, and it loads up, looks like Minty. Let's see, let's zoom in. Yep, Minty exe. So I will go ahead and copy this. Control C on Windows anyway. And I guess you can still use Control Insert if you want. I think those still are valid keys in here. Close that. So now let's go to CMD. I have it down here. And let's go ahead and do Control V. And let's see if this loads the Cygwin. And it does. So now see it's accessible from everywhere. Close it. So now another neat feature is now that I'm in Command exe, the DOS command or Windows command prompt, I can use some Linux commands in here too. So I could do an ls on the, let's go to cd / and let's do an ls on the root. And there it is. ls now works. Let's do ls-a. Oh, yeah. It shows even. Well, does it show the same stuff, I think? Oh, yeah. Well, no, it shows the .bash aliases now. Bash RC. So we have Linux accessibility in the Windows command prompt because we set the environment variable. Let's see if nano will work. Oh, and it does. So we can even load nano from the Windows command prompt. So there you go. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I was just paused the video and I was just fooling around with some stuff, and I found something else that's pretty neat. If I go to just the Cygwin64 directory, and I take a look, there's a Cygwin batch file. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what does that do? So if I do Cygwin, it puts me right into Cygwin right inside of the command prompt. So that's pretty neat. So I'm going to go ahead and do buy, which is an alias for mine for quit or exit. And then it puts me right back at the command prompt. So that's pretty cool. So in order for me to use this, I'm going to have to edit my path statement and add this directory. So let's go ahead and Alt F4 and Windows X, and I'll go to System, Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables, edit my path, and I might add a new path, and this time it will be d:/Cygwin64, and that's it. So now I hit OK, 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 close this, open the command prompt here again, and let's go ahead Cygwin. There it is. And now I'm in Windows command prompt, but I'm inside Cygwin now. So ls, well, let's just do LA. Yep, there it is. And if I want to leave, because I have an alias by, there it is, logs me right out. So that's really cool. So we're not done just yet, because now I want to install a console emulator called ConEmu. So let's close this, and I'm going to look up ConEmu. EMU. And it's a handy Windows terminal. So ConEmu, see, aims to be handy, comprehensive, fast, reliable terminal window where you may host any console application developed either for WinAPI, CMD PowerShell, FAR, Unix, Cygwin, MSys, Bash, all these different consoles. You can go through so you can tile your windows and stuff like that inside. So that's cool. Like if I wanted to run Notepad or something out of this window, you won't be able to use the window anymore until you close Notepad. But if I have another command, another one open over here, then I can go ahead and compile programs here. I can have my editor over here. I can do whatever. I can have all these terminal windows open. So that's pretty neat. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. And I'm going to select the ConEmu Preview Alpha Installer 32-bit, 64-bit. And I'll go ahead and execute that. Version to install, 64 for me. I accept. So I'm going to go with the default settings, but you can change these to whatever you like. So I'm going to go ahead and go next. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and go to browse. I'm going to put this on my D drive. So let's go. D. And I'll just put it right here under ConEmu. Okay. Now I'm going to click Next, Install. Finish. So now I'll go ahead and there it is, right there on my desktop. So now I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to go to Properties, Compatibility, and I'm going to always run it as administrator. Okay, so let's double click and see what we got. Now we have some options here. So we have location where it's going to store stuff. You can turn on and off portable mode here. Okay. You can choose the startup shell, which I'm going to go ahead and select Cygwin Bash. Then we can choose your language, color scheme. I'm going to go ahead and select Quake Style. I kind of like it. It's actually like a drop down menu, comes from the top of the screen down, and you can hide it. So that's kind of handy with the hotkey. It looks like an apostrophe, but I was doing it with Control tilde. So we'll see which one works. And then we can enable automatic updates. I guess I'll just go ahead and leave it at the default. Okay. And now zoom out, and here we are. So, and this is already in Cygwin, so I can do Alt Enter, left control. Yep, I can make it larger. I can go to my C drive. Yep, that works. D drive. So now I'm in ConEmu. So now let's say I want to duplicate this window, this terminal, and I want to make another one. So I would hit Control Shift E, and now I have a whole other Cygwin opened up, and I can go between the two just like that. Or I could do Control Shift E again, and then I have three of them like this. Let's see what Control Shift O does. And Control Shift O can do it like this. So let's go ahead and close some of these out because I didn't really like them side by side like that. Close tab, close tab, close tab. Alright, so Control Shift E did a side by side like this. But let's try Control Shift O. Now it does one below. Control Shift O. Oh, and it does one below like that. So let's go ahead and close these tabs. Maybe we just start with. So if I want to do one below on here, I can do Control Shift O. And then if I want one to the right of it, I can do Control Shift E. So there we go. So that's how you can do your multiple terminal windows in ConEmu. Now there's probably a lot more features in here, of course, that I'm brand new to this that I wouldn't know yet. But let's go ahead and see if we can try the Quake view. Let's go ahead and do Control, I think it was Control tilde, or it was Windows tilde, wasn't it? But I know it was Control tilde, that's right, and Control tilde again, and it brings it down. And it works. So I don't know why it says apostrophe. Let me try that. Control apostrophe. Nothing. Alright, Control tilde, and it drops down. Also, you can go up here and you can right click that bar and go to settings. And you have all your different settings in here. And you can change, like the enable automatic updates. You can change your default command prompt that loads up. Also, let me go ahead and I'll delete some of these. Close tab, and let's go up here. There's a plus sign, and right next to a little arrow, and I could go ahead and I could choose a shell. And if I wanted to open command prompt admin, now I have it. So I can select between the two with tabs. So now I'm in just regular command prompt right here. So you can also work with it like that. Well, that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. See you next time.